Overcoming adversity isn't just about surviving the hard seasons. It's about knowing when to finally let go and to step away into something new. I was recently telling somebody about the absolute worst year of insanity we had a couple of years ago, and it was during the absolute worst time of our life. And I was telling him what we did and how we eventually got out of it. Long story short, that particular year had been so hard, so bad, so intense, and so full of heartbreaking loss that we honestly don't know how we survived it. Life just kept dumping one super hard thing on us after another. By the end of that year, we were so over it. We were so done. And I've honestly never been so glad to see December 31st roll around in my life. Even though it's often just a superficial new beginning because one day rolls into the next, we decided to ceremoniously mark the end of that horrible, awful, very bad year by buying a giant firework. We wrote the year all over it and we blew that thing up. It was awesome. It was so therapeutic. The person I was talking to asked me such a great question about this. She asked, what changed between December 31st and January 1st? As in, didn't January 1st end up just being another day? I'm sharing my answer to that question with you today because it actually was a real shift for us. And I'm going to share what shifted, how we let go, and what it really takes to make that kind of a fresh start after a super hard season. It starts with being real about what's going on. The life we had been living was not sustainable, and it hadn't been sustainable for a very long time. It was killing us. We got to a point where we had to be 100% real about that. We'd been hit with an avalanche of unspeakably hard stuff all at once, and this was on the heels of years of wandering through the trenches of hell as we raised our kids. Not all of what we went through was in our control. In fact, most of it wasn't, nor was it our fault. But honestly, it didn't matter anymore. It didn't matter what the cause was. It didn't matter if we were in control of it or not. We had to be real about the fact that we'd been to the rock bottom of hell, and we had been there for way too long. Once we got real about that, I finally understood that we didn't have to keep doing this anymore. We really did have a choice. And our choice was to either stay there and keep doing what we were doing and keep spinning in all of this insanity, or it was to find a way out. And our choice was under no circumstances were we staying there or were we ever going back. And when you get that raw and real and get that level of clarity, it changes everything. It changes how you approach things, what you do, and it also changes what solutions you're willing to accept and invest in. And so we chose to do that. And so we welcomed every bit of healing light we could find back into our world. And we made sustaining that light a top priority. The fight wasn't getting us anywhere. It was actually keeping us where we were. The second thing we had to do was do something about it. We had to take a hard, long look at what all of this really was, what it was doing to our health, our marriage, our relationships, and how it was affecting us and other people. We also had to look at the real drivers of the stress, and we also had to get real about what we could change, what we couldn't change, and what we needed to change regardless of the cost. We got out that proverbial chop saw and we started the process of letting go of anything and everything we could possibly think of that was causing drama or doing more harm than good to us. That definitely was not an easy process, and some of it was downright painful. We saw stuff we didn't want to see, but we had to. We also realized it was going to mean the loss of people, places, and relationships that we loved and had once cherished. And some of them we never dreamed we would have to let go of. But that is exactly what we had to do. We had to learn to let go. They say that you find out who your friends are when you go through really hard things, and that is absolutely true. You also find out pretty quickly who your friends and your people are not. The most painful part of that process was having the blinders come off and realizing that we had to let go of my family in order to save ourselves. Much as we loved them, it wasn't working. The dynamics were not healthy. We didn't have the support we needed. We were not being believed. And we also knew that nothing was ever going to change, no matter how hard we fought. The easiest thing we let go of was expectations and choosing to have very few of them about anything anymore. It's amazing to realize just how much hurt and pain and chaos and drama are caused when we expect people or situations to be a certain way, and then reality falls short of that. We also had to own our own part about how those expectations we were holding were contributing to many of the problems that we were facing. We had to adjust our own beliefs, our own thoughts, our own ways of doing things. I will say the most transformative and the most life-changing thing we did, though, was letting go of any and all healing fantasies that we had been holding on to. And we just chose to let things be exactly what they are. We chose to see them for how they are, to let them be what they are. And we stopped chasing help because most of it didn't actually help. We stopped trying to make people and things be what we wanted them to be or to live up to our standards and what we thought they should be. And we chose to stop seeing them only as we wanted to see them and just let them be. We also stopped wishing and hoping for that elusive miracle that never seemed to happen, that things could somehow be different than they actually were. I gotta tell you, that's actually how we got through all of it. It's why we had a pirate party at the hospital the day that my daughter's leg was amputated. It's why we pulled out of a lot of ineffective therapies and just started trusting our own instincts. It's also why we knew we had to part ways with my family, and it's also what gave us the fuel to do it, even though it absolutely crushed my soul and shattered my heart to do it. It wasn't healthy, and it was never going to be healthy. And it was only after we did those things that we could finally see and understand that that miracle we had prayed so long for and had fought so long for actually did happen. Things are vastly different now than they were back then, and they're so much more peaceful too. And we have so much more joy in this wonderful healing season of life that we're in. Getting there just looked a lot different than we thought it was going to. And it required us to be willing to accept solutions we otherwise never would have considered. And it required us to sacrifice many things that we had held dear. We also had to make big investments of time, effort, and financial resources in things that would move us forward. Not necessarily what we wanted or what we thought they should have been previously. And we had to let all of the fluff stuff go in order to do what we needed to do. And if overcoming adversity is what you really want, it's not just about waiting for the time to pass or for things to get swept under the rug. It really is about choosing to make it happen. It's really not about trying harder. It's not about doing things better. I talked a lot more about that in the last video that I made, so check that out if you want to dive deeper into this subject. If you're ready for some help, some support, or some guidance, check out the resources I have linked down below in the description, because I promise you don't have to figure this out alone. Getting out of hell really is possible, and when you stop fighting against it and start letting it just be what it is and recognize it for what it is, you actually make room in your life for something a whole lot better. That's all for now. I'll see you next time. Bye!